a silent killer that affects tens of thousands each year.
Unfortunately, most of the time it's hard to know if you have an aneurysm.
What you need to know about brain aneurysms before it's too late. Plus, the eyes in the sky are paying off. A look at how Arkansans are taking advantage of the state's traffic cameras and verifying a natural state urban legend.
Everybody that I talked to just had this attitude of, yeah, it's there. And, you can take it or leave it.
We look into the truth behind the Gurdon light.
This is THV11 News at 6.
A Conway man died shortly after finishing a half marathon on Saturday. 36-year-old Stephen Zimmer was an avid runner.
Just seconds after he received his medal of completion, he collapsed. On-site doctors and an EMS crew tried to save him.
His cause of death is assumed to be a brain aneurysm, pending autopsy reports. THV11's Meredith Mitchell spoke with a doctor who specializes in treating these silent killers.
Brain aneurysms are not often talked about, but approximately 30,000 people suffer from a rupture each year here in the United States. In fact, every 18 minutes, an aneurysm occurs without warning.
Unfortunately, most of the time it's hard to know if you have an aneurysm because most of them are small and don't really cause any problem until they rupture.
An aneurysm is a weak, bulging spot on the wall of the brain. About 1 in 50 people has one, and for many, symptoms go unnoticed. In some cases, however, the aneurysm can rupture and can even be fatal.
It can happen to anybody, but usually we don't see aneurysms on people less than 40 years old.
Dr. Aaron Erdem, director of vascular neurosurgery at Baptist Health Medical Center, works on these cases weekly. He says high-impact physical activity can cause a brain aneurysm to rupture.
It doesn't bring on, you have the aneurysm already, but those cause it to rupture. That can cause it to rupture. Strenuous activity can definitely do that.
If the aneurysm is caught before it ruptures, Dr. Erdem says now there is a less invasive method to treating them.
In the past, it was a brain surgery, opening the head and just putting a hair clip type of a clip to basically shut down this balloon because aneurysm is like a balloon. But nowadays we can do this with a very simpler procedure going down from the groin, putting a catheter, which is a soft tube, and taking up through the vessels all the way into the head and getting into the aneurysm, and instead of putting a clip, just filling it from the inside with some special coils, we call it. It's a wire, and we coil it inside. The names come from that, and just we fill it in, and the blood cannot go into it.
Now, donations are being accepted for Steve Zimmer's family, and other runners are being asked to wear their race shirts to his funeral, which will take place at the New Life Church in Conway on Friday. That's at 2 p.m.
All right, Meredith. Well, the day's starting out just a little cooler. It's getting us in the Halloween spirit.
But it looks like meteorologist Marielle Ruiz already in the spooky spirit. Marielle, tell everybody where you are.
Hey, if you need help getting into the spooky spirit, I'm here at La Blollery Creamery on South Main, I should say. They have a few cool things going on. I'm here at their Halloween ice cream mix. They have Halloween-themed ice cream flavors, and I've posted those on my Facebook page, so go choose which one sounds good, because whoever has the most votes, or which flavor has the most votes, I'm going to try it coming up in a few. They have a few other fun things going on that I'll talk to you about, but first, let's get to your weather. Temperatures today in the afternoon only in the upper 60s, low 70s across the state, and as of now, we have cooled down some, but not a whole lot. 68 the current temperature in Little Rock, 72 for Hot Springs, 68 in Arkadelphia. It's going to be a cool evening, but not as cold as what it has been. About 58 degrees by 8. Winds still out of the south throughout the night tonight and into tomorrow as well. Mid-50s by around 10, 11 p.m. Tomorrow morning still cool. Tomorrow afternoon, a tad warmer than what we saw today. A cold front on the way for Friday is going to cool us down. The coolest weather of the season so far. I've got those details coming up.
The Arkansas Department of Health discourages people from using antibiotics if they want to protect their health in the long run. THV11's Winnie Wright just returned from the health department. She's here to explain.
We've all grown accustomed to going to the doctor when we're sick and leaving with antibiotics. But the Arkansas Department of Health, under the direction of the CDC, is now saying that way of thinking could be dangerous. The American Academy of Pediatrics recently updated its policy when it comes to healthcare acquired infections and antibiotic use in pediatric settings. Essentially, they remind doctors and the public not every condition requires an antibiotic, and overprescribing antibiotics can cause people to become antibiotic resistant, which can lead to death. Dr. Gary Wheeler with the Department of Health says it's going to take a whole new way of thinking to make their mission of using less antibiotics successful.
There's not many of us that are old enough to remember when we didn't have antibiotics. But when we didn't have antibiotics, the graveyards were full of people who succumbed to infections. And, you know, if we are not careful and use appropriate stewardship of these resources that we have, then we will be in big trouble.
Dr. Wheeler says a lot of common fall and winter illnesses don't require an antibiotic, so think about that when you pick up a cold or a sinus infection this fall. Rather than reaching over the medical counter, he says focus on rest. And to prevent sickness in the first place, be sure to wash your hands and cover your mouth.
The Arkansas Department of Transportation leaders think a recent investment is already paying off. They gave everyone access to their real-time traffic cameras through the iDrive Arkansas platform. And as THV11's David Lippman shows us, while we get to learn how bad our commute is, RDOT is learning about us.
Yeah, Craig, having live video like this gives us a much better idea of which highways to use so we can get where we're going faster. But going through the first month's data is also teaching state leaders which spots we're most concerned about and why.
When winter weather comes calling in a couple of months, you'll be able to take advantage of all these wonderful views of the highway system covered in snow, or as we clear them of snow is really how that's going to work out.
Thousands of people used RDOT's traffic camera system in its first month, and they believe more and more drivers will make the system a part of their daily routine.
The one on I-30 in Alexander at the county line, that's a very popular camera. Lots and lots of traffic coming into the Little Rock metro area from Saline County.
Almost 2,000 people clicked onto that camera in September, more than any of the other 100 you can choose on iDrive Arkansas. And there are plans to add a lot more.
We're getting ready to widen I-630 to 4 lanes in both directions between Big Rock Interchange and University Avenue. When that project's done, we'll have cameras about every half mile all the way down that corridor.
But people have spent the most time watching a camera on I-49, which just happens to be at the exit for Razorback Stadium. RDOT leaders think game days and special events might be one of the biggest reasons for people to check out the traffic cameras.
We had 2 portable cameras on I-630 in advance of the one Razorback game that was played here back in September. Those got a lot of views as well.
Along with the 630, the I-40 corridor from Little Rock to Conway is another section RDOT plans to focus on to make the morning and evening drives more bearable.
The corridor management aspect of that will allow us to watch the traffic and then program the message boards that we have up on some of the overhead sign gantries.
Now, RDOT plans to link up cameras in the Jonesboro area soon because there aren't any online right now. It's also working on push alerts through its app in case there are any problems on your favorite routes.
Well, we're less than a month away from Thanksgiving. Organizations already hard at work planning to feed people in need during the holidays.
Oh yeah, for 30 years, Watershed in Little Rock has fed tens of thousands during the holidays. But this year, THV is looking to help out.
This Friday, we're holding a Helping Home food drive. We're accepting monetary donations for turkeys, as well as non-perishable items, utensils, and paperware.
And again, it's Friday at the Kroger on Colonel Glenn, 3 until 7. You can find a full list of needed items on THV11.com, and thank you. Now, we've all heard the stories of the Gurdon Light, but what actually happened in the small southwest Arkansas town?
Good question. That's what we're verifying for you tonight. More on the spooky spectacle still ahead.
Plus, Marielle live enjoying some haunted happenings at Lob Lolly Creamery. She's got your full yummy forecast next.
Hey there, coming back at you from Loblolly Creamery. We're talking about an event going on here, but first, let's get you your weather forecast. Today, it was cooler in the morning, not so much in the afternoon. Temperatures topping out in the upper 60s, low 70s. Today's high in Little Rock, 71 degrees. The average is 72, so we were pretty close to where we should be for this time of year. As far as burn bans go, there are less of them, but there are still some in place, so keep checking that map. If you have any outdoor activities, either in the next couple of days or in a week from now, this could definitely change. So keep checking back there. Temperature right now of 68 degrees, the dew point on the low side. That's what makes it feel so dry out. Winds out of the west-southwest, anywhere between 5 to 10 miles per hour. That southerly wind driving moisture into the air. Temperatures will bottom out in the low 50s by around midnight. Overall, back into the 40s by tomorrow morning. That southerly wind drives our temperatures back into the 70s, nearing 80 degrees for some for your Thursday. Even though we do start off cool, we warm up by around 4 p.m. to 80 degrees in Little Rock. Definitely a number to watch there tomorrow afternoon. You don't have to worry about any weather until Friday. Now on Friday, we have a cold front that comes through. Right now, that front well off towards the north and west. That's going to make its way south, eventually impacting us by Friday morning. What's going to happen is that we have that front that enters the northwestern portion of the state by around 5, 6 in the morning, and then it swings through rather quickly. By 7:30 in the morning, we start to see some rain, mainly in the eastern third of our state. We could see some lingering showers behind this, so something to definitely be on the lookout for. As far as rainfall totals, I'm not expecting a whole lot, less than 1/10 of an inch, and I think this map here is even overdoing it some, just one of our models. But for tonight, 46 degrees, the overall low. Tomorrow, a high of 80, and that cooler weather gets here as we head into the weekend. Check out Friday night, Saturday morning, mid-30s, a low of 36, a high of 54. Mid-50s this weekend, and then back into the 60s as we head towards the beginning of next week. And hey, if you need a little help getting into the Halloween spirit, head on down here to Loblolly Creamery. They're having a Halloween mix tonight, an ice cream mix, and they have a costume contest that goes until Halloween, and you can come in here, dress up, take a picture in front of their fun backdrop, and then use their hashtag. But definitely a lot of fun stuff going on. Hey, that ice cream, the Halloween ice cream theme, it's tied right now. I asked you guys to go and vote on my Facebook page which flavor I should try. It's tied with Scully Golly and Pumpkin King. Here it is, my photographer JY showing a picture. The costume contest, though, that we talked about, it's the spookiest, most creative, and best group. So 3 categories. Use the hashtag Loblolly Halloween 2017. And don't forget, go to my Facebook page and vote on which your favorite ice cream is, which one you think I should try. And like I said, it's a tie between Scully Golly and Pumpkin King. A lot of fun flavors there to try. We'll be back.
You know, it's one of Arkansas's greatest unsolved paranormal mysteries, the Gurdon Light. And it always seems to get illuminated this time of year as Halloween approaches. And it's not the light that's really disputed here, as too many people have seen it and recorded it, but the questions linger over what it is and what's creating it. Legend is someone died there, but there are so many different versions of the story. What's really true? Well, we go to some sources to ask. The Arkansas Department of Correction, OBU historian Dr. Wendy Richter, and a man who saw it and documented his experience himself.
Down there on the tracks that there is this light, some people call it a ghost light. It's just a mysterious light. It kind of, it floats around this high.
Marcus Lowe was a UA Little Rock Mass Comm student in 2012 when he was assigned a documentary.
Since I was a kid, it's been kind of a part of the fabric of the folklore and local family stories since I can remember.
It seemed natural then that he picked the Gurdon light.
Everybody that I talked to just had this attitude of, yeah, it's there. And, you can take it or leave it.
There's no myth about it. It's there.
Well, what you're watching here is his final production. More on that in a minute.
Here we are, the tracks.
First, he had to get there, not to prove it was there, he says, but to hear the lore behind it. When he was done with his interviews, he made a last-minute decision. It was getting dark, but he went to find the light.
In between where I'd parked the car and where I was sitting, it appeared. There it was.
He began taking pictures and video.
The first 5 minutes was just trying to figure out, okay, what is it really? What is it? What am I seeing that's giving me this impression that I'm seeing this floating orb of light?
OBU historian Dr. Wendy Richter asks the same question in an article written for the Clark County Historical Association. She writes, several plausible explanations exist, but none can be proven. One of them that the light is coming from headlights along I-30 a couple miles away. Problem is, people saw the light in the 1930s when there was no interstate. She also writes, swamp gas is another possibility, but problem with that, the light appears in all types of weather and always retains its round shape. In the Encyclopedia of Arkansas History, there's a story of a rail worker who fell into the path of the train, his head severed, and the light is the lantern his ghost uses to look for his head. It's not been confirmed, but Marcus Lowe has heard all of the stories.
There are events that happen in that spot that I definitely think were attached to this phenomenon, whether that's what it is or not.
What can be verified is this. In 1931, a railroad foreman, Will McLean, was murdered by a member of his crew, Louis McBride. Richter confirms it in her article, which includes transcripts from the murder trial. In July 1932, the Arkansas Department of Correction executed McBride for the crime, a fact well documented on its website. Dr. Richter writes, according to legend, the Gurdon light is the railroad lantern swinging from the hand of the deceased man's ghost. As for Marcus Lowe, whose documentary digs deep, what does he believe it is?
I wasn't scared because obviously at that point, if it wanted to scare me, if it wanted to devour my soul, whatever, it would have done it at that point, That was the time. It had every opportunity to freak me out or to harm me or whatever. It had every opportunity to do that at that point. And it's definitely something supernatural. It had a purpose, it had some intelligence to it. And beyond that, I don't know. It's the Gurdon light, that's all it is.
It's the Gurdon light. So Dr. Richter by phone told me that the old train tracks there near the Gurdon light have now all been pulled up and the land is owned privately. And on our website, THV11.com, you can read the transcript of Dr. Richter's research, and that includes the transcripts from that old-time murder trial back in the 1930s. What's interesting is he said there's an intelligence to it, and the reason he said that is because if you listened, he was standing near the light, but the light was in between him and his car. So he had to walk toward it, and he was afraid of what was going to happen. The light kept its distance from him. All of a sudden disappeared. He turned his head, and then the light was behind him.
Huh.
Have you ever seen it?
No, and I hope that's never verified. That's a story you don't ever want to be completely verified because you want it to last forever.
You want it to last forever. So many people have seen it. It's less about whether it's there and more about, what is it.
Oh, it's a great tourist attraction for Gurdon, too.
Yes. All right. There you have it.
All right. We've been enlightened about the light. Now let's be enlightened about football. Let's talk about it in Central Arkansas. Let's go over to Taylor McGregor.
Well, I can verify some lights that will be here. The Friday night lights, North Little Rock and Bryant, the big matchup of the week. We've been looking forward to this all season, but it's going to look different than we originally thought. We're going to tell you why coming up next.